Hey everyone, John Michael here. I'm just now getting over a little laryngitis that I've had for about 3 weeks, so if I sound raspy and out of breath during this introduction, that's the reason why. Anyway, on today's episode of H2OMG, we're talking to Raymond Litster, the Senior Environmental Specialist for Water Conservation, about the importance of water in your everyday life. Just a few notes. In the first few minutes of the interview, you can hear a noise in the background that sounds like a big ship's horn, which is annoying, but I guess it's appropriate since we're talking about water. We record this in City Hall, and I guess they were doing construction or something. I never really found out what it was, but it's only for the first couple of minutes, and you can just imagine you're on a cruise to the Bahamas. Or a cruise to wherever you want, I guess. It's your imagination. The second thing is that Raymond and I discussed one of our favorite movies, Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. And I knew the correct name of the ship, but I panicked and said the wrong one. In my defense, Romulan warbirds are the exact same color as Klingon birds of prey, and they both have bird in the name, which makes it even more confusing. Anyway, you'll see what I'm talking about. The third thing is that Raymond mentions two bands that might be performing at the Earth Party right after our Chasing Leaks 5K race on March 30th, the Blue Bonnets and Bow Wow Wow. Both of those bands are now confirmed and will be playing live right after the race. All the proceeds from our Chasing Leaks 5K go to a great cause called the Water Payment Assistance Program that goes to help local families who need help paying their water bill. The Chasing Leaks 5K, like I said, is on Saturday, March 30th, and you can register at chasingleaks.athlete360.com, and the first 300 people to register get a t-shirt. And lastly, I just want to say a huge thanks to Raymond for taking the time to come and talk to us. Please check the show notes for links to the Pop Culture Hero Coalition that Raymond and I talk about. It's a great cause that takes a stand against bullying, and it's a wonderful thing to support. In the show notes, you can also find links to the Chasing Leaks 5K for more information and registration. Anyway, thanks for listening, and if you like what you hear, give us a review on iTunes or tell a friend. It'll help spread the word. Hope you enjoy. What's your name?
Raymond Litster.
And what's your job title?
Senior Environmental Specialist for Water Conservation.
So how long have you been doing that? And what does that mean?
So I've been with the City of Fort Worth for 5 years. What I do particularly is I'm in charge of the enforcement of water ordinance, and I also am kind of heavy-handed with education and outreach, so people are aware of the ordinance and a lot of customer contact.
So what's so great about water anyway?
So my first answer would be to Google it. When you're, I think everyone's probably Googled it. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just a dork. But, you'll see like all the facts. How much of our body is water, which is what, 75%?
Yeah.
How much of the Earth's surface is covered in water? How much of that water is salt water? How much is fresh water? How much of the fresh water is accessible for us for drinking? I think it's about 1%. So it kind of puts a perspective on water and its importance. The ingredients of everything we use, like if you look at your shampoo next time you're in the shower, the first ingredient is usually water. Most skincare products, water. Beer, water. Everything is water, and I think a lot of people don't realize that and kind of take it for granted. You have your shower first thing in the morning, you brush your teeth first thing in the water. Everything we do is water. It's just water is life.
Yeah.
And to quote a Star Trek episode, I was saying, there was this episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where Captain Picard and crew are visiting a terraforming operation on some remote outpost, and you have to make sure there's no life there before you make these changes to the atmosphere.
Because of the Prime Directive.
Prime Directive,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
You can't interfere. So these terraformers were really anxious to get this project off the ground, and there was a chance that there was a crystalline life form, but they were going to kind of cover that up. They didn't want to acknowledge them, and they really want to move forward with this.
Ooh.
But ultimately, this crystalline life form learned to communicate. And its first response, after looking at Picard and crew, they called them ugly giant bags of mostly water. Looking at them and thinking, and that's something that always resonated with me, and I stuck in my head. It's funny, but it's true. We are an ugly bag of mostly water, and to them, the ugly part is that we're ignorant and just blindly do things without really paying attention to the consequences of our actions.
Yeah, and just to clear things up with the listener, it was not Captain Picard who was suggesting to go ahead and terraform the planet anyway. It was the scientists on the planet.
Correct.
And he had to convince them, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, they had to stand up for the crystals.
Yeah.
Yeah, Picard wouldn't do that.
No, never.
He was by the book.
Kirk, maybe.
Kirk, maybe. Yeah, possibly. Worf probably would have. He probably would have been like, that's not a life form. It's chewing gum or something. I don't know.
So what's the most meaningful part of your job?
So with my job, with everything I do in my life, I have to be passionate about it, and I have to put 100% into everything that I do. Otherwise, it's a waste of my time, and I don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
With this particular job, I like the structure of rules and ordinance and regulations. Back to being like Worf. Those things are important to me, to have those guidelines. And then within that, it's kind of like fighting the good fight. These are our rules. This is why we have them. I believe in this, and I want to make sure that that's adhered to. And, you know, the steps before you get to any sort of enforcement is the education component of that. And you can avoid, you know, being the bad guy. So I really like working with the public and education. Outreach at events is huge, and it's really fulfilling when you see a kid find something exciting, you know, about something important to you, such as water conservation. When a kid thinks about, you know, you can make a joke, something that a kid will connect to, but it's something that'll stick with them, you know, like something silly like, I think I heard once, very little water escapes our planet. You know, it's just the water cycle, you know, and it's kind of like even the food web. Everything kind of feeds the next pattern of that, and it's all circular. And I don't remember if I was a kid and it was in school or where I heard it, but someone had said, oh, so basically we're made out of dinosaur pee. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that a kid will think of and think it's funny, but at the same time, it might develop into a better understanding and appreciation later on, thinking, you know, this is how it works. And maybe a little tiny part of me is dinosaur pee, and I'm drinking a little bit of dinosaur pee. And, you know,
I've heard that same thing before, but with Napoleon
Dynamite.
Like, no, like in your lifetime, you've drank water with a molecule that passed through Napoleon's body or whatever. Yep. So it definitely makes you look at the big picture. What are some easy ways that people can start conserving water?
There's several ways. With the city of Fort Worth and our water conservation department, we have several different programs that people can take advantage of. Kind of one of my main focuses is the irrigation component of that. So we have, tying back to the ordinances, there's the water waste and broken sprinkler head components. And a lot of people don't really know their own irrigation systems. They don't know how to use the controller. They don't know what days and times they're watering. It's watering at 2 a.m. while they're sleeping. They don't know that there's X amount of gallons just running into a storm drain, or they have a broken sprinkler head and they're wasting a bunch of water. A lot of people don't know and don't pay attention to that. We have the free evaluations that people could take advantage of. And it's not just about having someone come out and tell you, but the hope is that people will learn a little bit and will be forced to, whether they want to or not. If you want this evaluation, you're going to have to listen to our spiel a little bit, so people can know a little bit about their own system. And I mean, money is water, and people should really pay attention to that. One of the things, it's the violation would be called watering hard surfaces, but it's when you're watering so much that your ground can't take anymore, and it literally just sheets off of your property and runs down the road. So one of the things we'd recommend for that would be cycle and soak. You know, you water in smaller times, and then you go through all of your programs and zones, and then you do it again right after for smaller bursts of time. So instead of watering zone 1 for 15 minutes, zone 2 for 15 minutes, you would go zone 1 5 minutes, zone 2 5 minutes. Then when you're done, you'd go back to zone 1 for another 5 minutes, and it allows the ground more time to take the water. And then irrigation aside, it's something simple you can do at home, is even, you know, turning off the water when you're brushing your teeth, you know, or not letting the shower warm up while you're in the other room cooking and forgetting about it. You know, there's just simple things that people don't think about. Shutting out, you know, it's the same thing with like electricity, the kind of little short things like you're not in the room, shut off the light. You're not using the water, turn it off.
Sure. People love those shower timers that we hand out at events, but every time somebody comes up to get one and they say, "What's this?" and I say, "It's a 5-minute shower timer so you can help save some water." And every single person says, "Oh, I'm going to get this for my wife," or "I'm going to get this for my
teenage son."
Yeah, but it's never for them. And so I always call them out on it, and I'll say like, sure, okay, yeah. But I use one of those at home. It's
You
really
do?
nice. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the Chasing Leaks 5K and Earth Party event.
One of my favorite parts of my job has been events. I love to work events and to manage events and kind of the whole logistics of it. I just love everything about events. I've been doing events in some form or another for about 8 years. I just kind of worked with some bands and helped them book shows and work on the design and the merchandise and just kind of evolved.
Oh, cool.
When I started with the city, I found out about Earth Party. It was a code compliance event, and just instantly went to them and said, I want to do this. And just like when, someone's doing something and people tell them that, they hear that all the time and they're just like, yeah, whatever. And then I literally showed up and that first year and just was like, okay, what can I do? Here I am.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I'd asked my supervisor, I'm like, I'd like to really sink my teeth into this, and got, permission. Literally the next year, I took over managing the entire event, which is a code compliance event. Yeah. And I work in the water department, but it fits so well with what we're doing, and it really shouldn't be a code compliance event. Yeah. And that's what I thought from the beginning. Water conservation is, the fourth largest environmental problem, or fourth or fifth, that there is. When you look at the yearly management plan or whatever it is, that's like the fourth. So water conservation has to be a big component in this event, and all the different departments eventually need to fall into line. Yeah. So of course I put water conservation right at the front, and for this upcoming event, it will be as well. Then as far as how that kind of got paired with the Chasing Leaks race, code compliance had some kind of organizational changes. So this current year I stepped away from that, but I really wanted to do an event, and Chasing Leaks needed some help. So I kind of pulled my resources and ideas and contacts and everything and threw as much as I could at the Chasing Leaks to kind of build some of that momentum of having the after party and bringing in more attention and kind of putting it to the next level, having some bigger names involved, having Tesla and Natural Grocers and YMCA
and Nike, right?
Nike was there as well. Yeah, and each showing what their tie to the environment is. Nike had the reuse a shoe program, but it was just really important to me. And then after the events wrapped up, Earth Party wanted me back. After me stepping away for a year, they're like, we want Raymond back. And somehow conversations got started. What if you merge the events and have Raymond kind of keep going with both as one merged event? So, the director and some council people had mentioned it, and it got kind of passed down and around. Raymond needs to do this. So I'm super excited. This 2019 event, I've been working on it like ridiculous already. At home and weekends, I'm applying for money from different companies, and through that, I got a $10,000 donation from Wells Fargo, who will be the title sponsor.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that kind of enables me to bring the entertainment back. So I booked some pretty cool names.
Oh, nice.
It's not, this part isn't confirmed yet, but it's so close. Yeah. Bow Wow Wow from the 80s, I Want Candy.
Oh, wow.
And Do You Want to Hold Me?
Oh, yeah.
Is 99% going to be 99% going to be our headliner. Wow. And then the other band I booked, and this one is confirmed, is the Blue Bonnets from Austin. Okay. And the lead singer is Dominique Davalos, and Kathy Valentine's in the band. She was in the Go-Go's.
Oh, wow.
So it's a little bit of 80s. That's my little guilty. It's obvious. We know who booked it and what they listen to, but you got to have fun if you're doing it.
Yeah. So this episode is coming out in February, and Chasing Leaks is on March 30th, right?
Yeah, March 30th. It's going to be at Panther Island Pavilion. It's on a Saturday. Okay. The race starts at 8 or 9 a.m. And then Earth Party kicks off right after at 11. We'll have free food for volunteers for the racers and the people who participated in the Cowtown cleanup. We'll have food trucks and music and about 40 different vendors and booths out there. And I'm kind of envisioning what I'm calling Destination Water, where we have all the different water pieces all together. We'll have, the water demonstration trailers from TRWD. We'll have Brit and AgriLife and Leaf Filter, and just all the different water groups together and kind of put it, steal a little bit of what Dallas Earth Day is doing with their bigger thing. I just wanted to steal a little bit of that thunder. Fort Worth deserves their own Earth Day event.
Yeah. Where can people go to find out more or to register? Like, is that set up?
Yeah, so our partner with the actual race itself is Fort Worth Runners Club.
Okay.
So you can register on their website, and we'll also have all those links on code compliance and water department, and the bands are going to have their own events, and we're going to try to tie everything together for promotions. We're going to be promoting on Jack FM radio. We're going to be in Fort Worth Weekly for a month. So we're going to have the word out as best we can. Okay. The main goal is to really increase the number of runners, and all the proceeds for participating in the race. Well, basically you spend the $25 to run. You're getting a free high quality runner's shirt, which would be the same cost of that. Yeah. So that's why we're pulling in a lot of runners just from that traditionally in the last couple of years. The proceeds from that money goes to CAP program, Community Assistance Program, and it goes to elderly, anyone who's economically challenged, people with disabilities, people that can't afford their water bill. And it all kind of ties back again to water conservation. A lot of people who have a leak or who are wasting water, are having high bills that they can't pay. So there's a natural connection there.
Yeah. And they can apply to be in that program and to receive bill assistance. Yeah,
they serve all of Tarrant County. This particular money just goes to Fort Worth water customers.
Okay.
But they do serve all of Tarrant County.
Okay. You want to tell us a little bit about the nonprofit work you do for the Pop Culture Hero Coalition?
Yeah, thanks. So in all of my free time, I used to just travel around and go to concerts, and that was just kind of my thing. And as I've gotten older, I've become, everybody's dad when they're like, oh, what is this that everyone's listening to on the radio these days? And, you're a little out of touch. You don't really relate to the current music and my old music, the people aren't touring as much and whatever. So it's kind of losing its fun. So one thing I've always been is a huge Star Trek fan, to a really dorky extreme. Like I went from like G.I. Joe and Transformers to Star Trek when I was like 10 years old.
Yeah, me too.
And like renting VHS tapes from Blockbuster.
I have a very similar, experience. So yeah,
I just clicked with it right away. Like I remember seeing The Wrath of Khan as a little kid, and just that was the one that I first saw, and I was just like, whoa! I don't know how a 10-year-old could relate to that exactly, but for some reason, I don't know if it was the bug in the ear or whatever.
Yeah,
I was just like, whoa, this movie is intense. And I just was addicted ever since, and I have been my whole life. It's like been like a parent to me. I feel like a lot of me is from Star Trek. But I had never went to any sort of convention. That people have asked me my whole life, oh, do you go to the conventions? Do you dress up? And I'm just like, no, I'm not that. Yeah. I'm not that type of Star Trek fan. It's not that I was embarrassed about it. It just wasn't something I thought I'd be interested in.
Well, be careful because I have done that.
Yeah.
So watch what you say.
Did you see that episode of Saturday Night Live when William Shatner's talking? He's like, get a life. Yeah. It's just like, I guess I kept that in the back of my mind. I didn't want to push it too far. I didn't want to be like, but what happened? It's true, like Galaxy Quest. But so finally last year, I convinced myself to go to an event. And I'd never done it before. Well, it was kind of a private event, so it wasn't like a big convention. It was actually Nichelle Nichols' birthday party.
But how did you get invited to
It was like a small group, and you could, they kind of opened it up to a few of the people who they had connections with on their social media. Yeah. So I was like, okay, my first event, Nichelle Nichols, 85th birthday. Yeah. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Wow, I flew to LA and went to her birthday.
That's crazy.
It was like just a little private room in a rrestaurant, with her family and her friends. So I was there, just hanging out. And,
but had you met her before?
No.
Yeah, okay.
And she's not like William Shatner. She's not a young 85. She's an old 85. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's she's winding down, retiring. Yeah. She's really kind of not able to do too much more of the convention scene.
Yeah, you don't see her as much.
Well, she is. She's going to all the conventions, but they're starting to announce that this will be her last WonderCon. This will be her last Comic-Con. Okay. So they're winding that down. But when I was there, I met Chase Masterson, who plays Lita on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And we clicked. we just were like the same person, and we really hit it off. And she told me about an organization she had founded. It's an anti-bullying nonprofit, like you said, called Pop Culture Hero Coalition. And we made a coffee date for the next day, just because we really clicked. So the next day we went out for a coffee, and literally it was like everything we were saying, we're like, I feel the same way, or I have the same story. And we just really, really have clicked. And kind of literally like how it was with Earth Party, I just was there, and it kind of went gangbusters ever since. Every month since then, I've been at a convention, and I've been at events and designed new Be Kind shirts, which is our fundraising, tool, and took over social media and made an online store, and that's my living room, is where that camp is. But just really kind of dove into it, and it's been a great experience. Like my first big convention, it's like all these people dressed up, and you're in this big room with all these people. And it was actually a Doctor Who convention. I've never seen Doctor Who.
Me
so
either,
but it's still, you see this robot dog girl, and you see this devil angel or something weird. I don't know what it was, but and these robots driving around.
And a guy with a big scarf. Probably a bunch of guys with big scarves. Yeah.
So everyone's there, and they're totally into what they're into. And maybe outside in the real world, they don't have anything in common, or maybe they do.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking at that first convention, if someone was looking in the window, they would say, what is going on? There's this black girl, there's a robot dog, there's this. What are these people doing together, and how does this fit? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Because some people can't really see that we're all equal and we're all the same. And inside that room, everybody looks at each other as 100% equal, whether you're a robot dog. It doesn't matter what color your skin is or what your religion is. Everyone there is just like a family and a community. And I think a lot of the people gravitate toward Star Trek and Doctor Who and other science fiction because it's an ideal world we'd want to live in, where there is equality and where you're not judged and treated differently. So a lot of the anti-bullying really fits and has a comfortable home there because a lot of the people there have experienced this. And not everybody has the courage to speak up, for themselves or for other people. And you shouldn't have to have that courage, But if someone like me can, then I'm happy to do it. And I've never myself been bullied. I mean, other than, every kid teases the kids, whatever. But I was never particularly bullied. But just the fact that I feel so strongly about equality and those rights that should be given to everyone. I'm just happy to help. And if it's a benefit that I get to hang out at cool Star Trek events, then so much the better.
That is cool. Well, I think I can guess what your answer is going to be to this, but maybe you'll take it into left field. If you could live inside of a movie, what movie would that be?
Yeah, you totally know the answer. I would have to say... I
don't know which one.
Which one? Star Trek 4.
Okay.
The Voyage Home.
Sure. That's my favorite Star Trek movie.
It is my favorite movie of all time.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually have a good story about that.
Yeah.
So the reason that I would live in that movie and the reason why it's my favorite movie is because I think it's the most clever movie ever. The villain doesn't have a face. There is no villain. Yeah. The villain is humanity and our own short-sightedness. Yeah. And you feel the same full range of emotions watching this movie. It's the most humor, it's the most excitement. You go through everything and you don't really realize you don't have the components that movies seem to all have to have now. Yeah. Like an inappropriate sex scene or kiss in the middle of an action scene, which doesn't make any sense. Doesn't have to have a car chase or a motorcycle chase like the new Star Trek movies. Yeah. There's not villains in it. Yeah. Star Trek has great villains, don't get me wrong, but this movie didn't even need one. It was so good. Yeah. And the idea about going back in time to bring the whales back because of our own short-sighted mistake of hunting them to extinction. Yeah. Look at the news now with the seismic blasting and all the plastic. I mean, we still haven't learned that much. But yeah, that would be my pick. Yeah. No doubt. And Catherine Hicks is also become pretty close with me. And I really think the world of her. Yeah, she's a really cool lady.
I don't know how many times I've seen Star Trek 4. And if anybody listening hasn't seen it, you should just start with that one. If you haven't seen any Star Trek movie, just start with that one. It's okay if it doesn't make sense. Why are they in a Romulan warbird?
Klingon.
Kling-
Bird of prey.
I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to start over. Why are they in a Klingon bird of prey? It doesn't matter. It's such a great movie. If you could have people listening to this podcast remember just one thing, what would that one thing be?
One thing that we said today?
Yeah.
Dinosaur pee.
Yeah.
Definitely going with the dinosaur pee. Yeah, no, just trying to appeal to the younger generation who maybe doesn't realize how important water is. Trying to make it cool and make that connection for younger people. So if it's something silly like that, that's going to spark something silly in their mind, like you mentioned about Napoleon and I mentioned about that, something little like that that'll stick with someone forever, even if it's just a little dumb joke, it kind of plants that seed and makes you think about water and how it plays such a vital role in all of our lives.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end it. That's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Your office is freezing. Dinosaur pee